Minutes from the last meeting on January 11th. Any comments, changes? Motions to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What's this?
This goes to Sally.
This goes to
Sally, a second here.
Sally's.
Mine's a lot of we're on
Okay, yep.
Is that your new property?
How many we got?
usual suspects.
Hold that front.
Mike Parsons, Shannon, Patrick, and Tyler Street Business Group, and I don't know who they are.
Hi, I'm Anthony Barnaba. I'm the architect with Shannon for White Engineering and the Martins. I don't know why it's coming up Tyler Street Business Group. That's just a separate account of mine.
Okay, I'm sorry, tell me your name again?
Anthony Barnaba, architect with Blue Line Design.
Blue line.
I'm with the Martins. The
Are you-
NOI.
Are you,
And I'm sorry, one more time your last name.
Barnaba, Barnaba.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right. Shall we? Any informal?
Not
We want to
tonight.
talk to us?
I don't think so, anyway.
Public hearing. Bernard Hahn.
excuse me. Can I make a request here? Rather than put Patty and Jay through the whole shebang, can we put them up front or no?
We should go, be in order.
Sorry?
We should go in order.
It won't take too long, I hope.
And Ron, I have an informal, but I can wait till the end.
All right. Did you get a shot today, Patrick?
What?
Did you get a shot today?
I did.
I thought that was you. All right, Mr. Wellenkamp.
May not be here when we've not received the letter describing for the planting.
All right,
So we need to continue.
continue that. Make a motion to continue.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3 Ice Glen Road. That didn't pan out.
Couldn't see it.
Too
Jackson
much
there?
snow.
No.
Jackson's not here.
Okay, so we can continue.
Continue that one as well. Stormwater Management Bylaw. Eric Gray, 58 Lake Drive.
It should be
That would be
Shannon.
me, Shannon.
Shannon, all right, your turn.
Good evening. Okay, I sent over to you revised plans and some were dropped off at town hall as well. The second envelope that was dropped off. If you've had a chance to look at them, if not, I can share my screen.
Yeah, put it up on the screen while we're going through this. Is that them? Is this it again?
This is it. It's this. This is my card. This is,
Okay, so it should be up on the screen.
No,
Not yet.
didn't pick it yet.
You gotta click one of those files here.
Hold on.
Try again.
Still nothing.
I think I had too many open.
It seems like it's on its way.
all right, so this is what we got.
Nada.
Okay, are you seeing it now?
No,
No.
No, okay, hold on.
This new pen. There you go.
got it.
Okay. Okay, so you can see that plan now?
Yeah.
Okay, so we took into account comments that were made by the commissioners who were present at the site visit that we had. That was, I believe, Ron, John, and Sally. Forgive me if anybody else was there. So what we did, we have a new house going in here. This is for a stormwater permit. We have a new house going in, which is kind of the orange here. The existing house is going to be demolished. This is going to be built on a frost wall. We have a new septic system here, a new well going back here in the corner, and a new driveway. The driveway is going to come in a bit north of where the existing driveway comes in, and then it will connect with the existing driveway up to the existing parking area. So we have added, from the last time you saw this, stone line swales along the driveway, two level spreaders in this location to catch water, along with berms along the property line, so that water coming off the property will come into these level spreaders and into the rain garden.
What's the slope, Shannon? Is there a slope?
I can't tell you exactly what it is, but there are areas that are fairly steep, and we do have regrading in the front of the house here and to accommodate the septic system. So we want to keep the water on the property rather than going off the property,
Not so
possibly
steep.
across Lake Drive to others' property. The lake itself is on the other side. Lake Drive is here, there are houses, and then Stockbridge Bowl. We have other planting areas here and trees to be planted along here. We saw 5 trees with green ribbons along Lake Drive, just off the property. Those are going to stay. We made it clear that those cannot be removed. So we also sent you the stormwater management report, Title V documents, and architectural schematics of the proposed house. The house is going to be, it's going to have asphalt shingles and earth tones.
Yay.
And Shannon, what do you got planned for the plantings down there in that corner?
These are going to be native trees.
All the same
This is
kind?
just 15 native trees. This is 15 fruit trees and 10 native shrubs. There is a planting list on the plan.
Flowering wood, river birch, nanny berry, shade low, eastern red bud for the trees.
So, which are really shrubs.
Well, my question, Shannon, is
Yeah.
the corner where you've got 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, something.
These trees.
Yeah, those are green. What are those?
Those are just specified as native trees.
But they're mostly shrubs, that list. Nothing there gets very big.
Okay. These down here could be more screening type trees, something larger. Go with like maples, oaks.
Could be, but will it be?
If that's what you are looking for, I can certainly make that change.
Please.
Okay.
Yeah. I think you need to specify what's what down there.
Okay, I can certainly do that and get you a revised plan on that.
Thank you.
So those of us that have been there had concerns of where the water, because there's a significant elevation change from the house to the road. And our concerns were that it would eventually work its way across the road
Right.
into the neighbor's yard, so.
And Shannon, I have a question. You have that like, I don't know, pink stripe across what looks like the driveway?
That's a
Is that-
culvert.
Is that a water dam or what is that?
That's a proposed culvert.
What is gonna channel the water into the level spreader thingy dings on either side there?
There would be stone at the end of the culvert that would direct it into the level spreader.
Okay, I'm missing something here. You got water running down the driveway.
Yes,
And that water is just gonna go off to one side or the other?
yes. So if it comes down the upper side of the driveway, it'll go to this level spreader, sediment forebay. It'll hit a berm along the property line.
Yeah.
And so it'll be directed into this culvert, into this forebay, and into the rain garden. There's a
All right.
berm along this edge of the property line as well to keep that water from leaving the property.
All right, during a gully washer, what are you gonna do?
These has been sized for a 100-year storm. You know, if it's a real bad storm, greater than a 100-year storm, I mean, they're gonna obviously have to repair any damage like any homeowner should do.
Yeah, 100-year storms are now, 25-year storm, they're,
Or 3-month storm.
yeah, it's not how it used to be.
What are the blue boxes? I missed they're,
These are a septic tank and a pump chamber that will pump the sewage to the leach field.
So where it's steepest,
why are they at the,
go ahead,
No.
finish with your question.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go.
Where it's steepest, it looks like the water will just come straight down. There's no trees below that.
It will.
Correct. It's gonna come down and it's going to hit this berm and this sediment forebay and come over to the rain garden.
So the guy who's installing the septic tank and the pump chamber haven't got a problem with that?
What is,
I don't see a problem with it. The tanks will be, below grade and watertight.
This has all been approved by Tri-Town?
Yeah. She said she included it anyway.
I cannot say whether Tri-Town has approved it at this point.
Oh, I thought you said you included a thing from them.
We included the perk test results.
can you tell us again what the well is? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Lower left corner.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
The well, the water?
Yes. Over here.
Okay, thank you.
And will you send us a copy of Tri-Town's approval,
Yes,
please?
yes, certainly.
And I'd like to condition the plantings. I'd like to see the trees, the actual trees that you're planting. This here is shrubs. It's not really trees. I mean, they're woody, but they're all pretty small. I'd like to see the rest of the actual trees that you're planting.
I can specify these and get you a revised plan with that.
Okay, but I also want a condition that they, 75% of them live more than 2 years, and if not, they get replaced.
How deep how deep are they? Deep, like when you dig down, you put.
You haven't seen it?
The tree.
Pardon?
Having seen it, are you okay with it?
I'm going right here. Any more questions?
Couple feet below the top of the grade.
That's it?
ground. Yeah,
Yo, questions?
Oh, I asked Joe.
Yes, no?
I don't even.
Okay.
No,
What's that?
okay.
You want to wait for the additional information? That was the hearing.
Yeah. Have you done demolition yet? Shannon?
Yeah.
Shannon,
I'm sorry.
have they started demolition yet?
Have you signed off on a demolition permit?
So this gonna wait
If
till.
not, I would say no. I'm not aware that they have.
One more thing, let's do a pre-construction site visit to take a look, see what it looks like.
When the snow's gone.
Last thing they're gonna do is the landscaping, so,
And that's all we're conditioning?
yeah,
Okay.
that's the way, that's why landscaping always takes a hit, because they run out of money. Okay, Shannon, we're gonna continue this to the next meeting. You get everything we've asked for to us, and we will close the hearing on this.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, have a good night. James and Patty Andrew, 2 Mackinac Road, subsurface disposal system.
Because you needed more property to take care of?
I'm so very excited.
Joe and I were there today. Let's see what you got. I know what's going on, so.
I think
Sure.
Parsons may have.
Yeah, Mike Parsons is on.
Mike, you there?
Yes, I am.
You want to bring up on the screen what you're doing?
I will try.
All right, good luck. All right. Why don't you roll it out here?
There's 2 of them there.
Two. Oh, my. Oh, whatever else expired them.
All right, well, waiting for pictures.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble.
Okay,
getting-
that's all right. I believe the system you have now has failed.
3 of these, so
Is that correct?
Yes.
And
Yes,
this,
that's correct.
and this is the replacement system. Here in the area, but not on top. Show location of property and stuff.
It's 2 Mackinac Road.
That's a real steep driveway. It's right across pretty much. It's on the,
Oh, okay. Across from
Side.
I
McKernan?
don't understand.
Yeah.
Right after Masters,
From here down.
towards the boat.
Septic. Comes in on,
Where's the beach?
right.
Isn't
And then
that
the
the
And then some way down here,
it goes up.
way down here, is the force.
Case where.
I know.
McKernan's, yeah.
That doesn't run. There's nothing north built on in here.
Yeah.
But it's on the
There's just no,
side of Mackinac if you're going north, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, this place here is a nightmare. I mean, I don't know where she's gonna find this.
Oh, is that the one on the corner? Triangle.
My comment on this is, it's about the only place they can put this, and it's not a bad spot.
Yeah, and the other comment was the perk test results in this area. I just looked at the plans, they're 10 minutes an inch, which is pretty good.
Let's see.
Mike, is this a pre-treatment setup?
It's not a pre-treatment setup, Joe. It's a 1,500 gallon fiberglass septic tank. It's monolithic, so it'll be watertight. And the wastewater discharges out of that tank into a distribution box, and it feeds a bed of some newly approved chambers in Massachusetts. They're called Elgins. And they treat the wastewater so well that the state allows you to have a 2-foot separation to groundwater for repair replacement systems.
That's what the McKernans could use.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know the answer to that, but they're fairly newly approved in Massachusetts, but it's a great system. Certainly better than what's there, which is falling apart septic tank, and it looks like an Orangeburg pipe out to maybe the cutoff trench that runs around the property. So it's going to be good for the property. It's going to be good for everybody down gradient of the property. And the effluent that gets into these chambers will be clean when it gets into the water table.
On the downhill side of this system,
Right?
there's gonna be a drop off
There's going to be
on the front side.
a 2-to-1 slope on the downhill side. It's basically lawn now. We kind of cited this, although we had limited sites to put this, very limited sites to put it. We were bound to stay 100 feet from the well. So yeah, it's going to have a downhill grade. It'll be seeded and mulched.
Is there any concerns with this, with a breakout or a slide or anything like that?
No, we're not concerned about it. I think we have, yeah, it's got a breakout liner on the downhill side. That's what I was looking for. So if you look at the A42 geotextile sand filter slope bed system that's on the plan, you see on the downhill side, we've got a breakout liner. That's a foot outside of the bed. So it'll keep all this, help to keep all this in place.
What holds that in place?
The soil that is behind it or on the downhill side of it. You can see if you look at the site plan that it's a little bit flatter. There's just below the 1011 contour. You can see there's a fairly flat area there.
Cheaper than this.
That gets you up close to the benchmark. There's a right where we've got the benchmark labeled, nail in the base of a 10-inch dead tree. If you look at the plan, that's a fairly broad area there between the 10,009 and 1,011 contour. Kind of flat, so they could even carry that grade a little farther downhill if it was deemed to be too steep. But we've done this a lot and we've not had a problem with anything sliding down the hill.
My only thought was that maybe there would be boulders put in place or large rock or that type of thing to form the banking. But if you say that's not going anywhere.
Right, well, we've got slope stabilization fabric required around the proposed soil absorption system. So besides the liner. So there is, if you look up above the A42 detail over on the right-hand side, we've got a note there about the slope stabilization material. So, yeah, it'll be wrapped with that.
The big pine tree that is there,
Right.
is that gonna be part of the slope, in the slope, above the slope?
And it's gonna be right at the toe of the slope. And I don't know whether, Jim and Patty want to keep that pine tree or not.
We'd like to, Mike, can you hear us?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so.
We'd like to, I would think that it would help keep the bank where it is, rather than getting rid of it.
Yeah, absolutely. If you were to cut that tree, you certainly would cut it flush and leave the roots and the stump to hold the bank. But if you're gonna keep it, that's fine as well. And we've got a straw wattle barrier wrapping all the way around this system as shown on the plan. And that'll stay there until all of the grass is growing, and then it'll be removed after that.
When do you hope to start this?
Wilkinson was talking about if we get a warm time in February, which I don't think is gonna happen. Otherwise, it would be April.
The only reason I ask is if you start stripping topsoil and bringing in fill like that, if we do get more snow, then we have an issue with runoff from the hill, the property, the house. And straw wattles might not be enough. You might need straw bales that don't get overrun. Okay. So it's kind of the contractor's purview that he doesn't let those irrigation or sedimentation barriers go, fail. You've got to keep up on them.
Okay.
We've had some issues with that already. Like I said, straw wattles may be fine if you wait late enough in the year, but if you did them right now, I'd say just go with the straw bales and you don't have to do it twice. That's the contractors.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, one.
Ron?
Is the existing SAS to be abandoned or removed? Where is that?
All we saw was a single piece of Orangeburg pipe out of the existing septic tank. And
I'm not hearing you.
it didn't go very far. So we've called out on a plan for the existing septic tank to be pumped and replaced with the new tank. Because space is limited. Sometimes we just abandon them and leave them there and put a new one in, but this is a tight little spot to work.
Okay. If you abandon it, you're gonna fill it up full of something, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'd fill it with flowable fill if we were gonna abandon it. But right now, the plan calls for it to be removed and the new fiberglass tank put in its place.
Any other questions?
Ron, did you tell them that I went there with you this afternoon?
Yeah, Joe and I were both on the site.
Yeah. It seemed like the only place you could put it.
Yeah, otherwise
There in the parks.
forest otherwise. There are some trees that have been taken down. There were some dead trees that were taken down. But I didn't see anything vital to the scenery or the area or anything else.
Want a motion to approve it?
Please,
I'll make a motion that we approve.
I'll second it.
all in favor? Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you so much.
6 Arthur Fiedler Lane. That,
Yeah, Shannon.
Shannon?
No, I have one.
Arthur Fiedler Lane.
Yes.
Hey, you're up.
Okay.
Thank you.
One reason why I do this,
Thank you for coming out tonight.
I know who we're looking for.
Appreciate it.
FYI.
I didn't go back, I didn't read that far.
I try and put the engineer's name on the
Yeah, that's
thing, so we know who the culprits are. Right, Shannon?
Yes. Not always a bad thing.
And it's also a way when it goes in the newspaper for, if people have questions, they know which engineering firm to call.
good.
So they're gonna put a pool in Arthur Fiedler Lane.
No, there's no pool.
How come I thought it was a
It says
pool?
addition.
Well, that's what I wrote.
Addition?
No, this is actually an addition.
All right,
No pool.
no pool.
Pool?
No.
Yes,
Okay.
no, that makes a lot of sense.
I made that up.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna try to share my screen for you.
Please.
I don't seem to have hard copy on this, Shannon.
You should.
I only had the digital version. I only printed out the first couple of pages so I could advertise.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll be sure you get hard copies.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is 6 Arthur Fiedler Lane. I see that Ellen Martin, one of the owners, is present, as is Anthony Barnaba, the architect. So what we are proposing is, well, let's see, this is an existing house, driveway, a shed, well, and it is almost surrounded by a bordering vegetated wetland.
Almost.
What's,
Almost?
There's an area right here that was determined to be upland.
Of water.
It's pretty much the edge of Mow, and has been that way for years. So
Shannon,
what we've-
pardon my ignorance, but what's the pink all about?
It's a stream.
It's the pink.
Purple?
The purple, I don't know.
This right here?
Yeah, yeah.
Driveway.
Oh, that's a driveway,
Oh,
Oh, okay.
gravel driveway. And that is existing. So we have part of the house is on piers, this front part of the house. And then we have a frost wall in the rear, a screen porch, and a deck. The proposal is to construct a 145 square foot addition to square off the back of the house. This will be on piers. The front of the house is going to be weatherized to be waterproof and more year round. That is on piers. It's intended to stay on piers. It may be necessary to pour a slab. That is not desired. It's more desirable to keep it on piers, but I threw that in there. Pour a slab just in case. That was going to be the best way to weatherize it. That'll be under the existing structure. So this frost wall in the back is our excavation. We have silt fence around the entire developed portion of the property, including the driveway for construction access, and some grading around the house to, bring up that grade around the house, get some of the water away from the house. We also have 145 square feet of new plantings along the existing mow line, the existing wetland line.
What are they, Shannon?
Those are winterberry bushes and some native herbaceous bushes in between, or shrub plantings, herbaceous plantings. And we'll put stones along the perimeter of that planting area to deter lawnmowers from going into that area. And that will blend in with the existing wetland.
And what's the distance between the addition and the BVW?
Just a moment. Let's see. The closest point, the addition is about 22 feet. We also have included stone at the drip line around the house, which is not there now. Now the water just sheet flows off the roof except for over the doors where there's a gutter, and then it splashes onto the ground. So we have stone around the perimeter of the house now to break up that roof runoff so it doesn't erode.
What's the current distance to the BBW? You know what my question is.
The current distance is, the closest point is 23 feet. The shed is right up against the BBW.
Is the shed being removed?
No, it's going to stay.
So we're losing that buffer, we're losing
140.
145 feet in the buffer zone.
Yes.
And you're,
But you're gaining more infiltration into groundwater with the stone apron around the drip line and 145 square feet of new plantings in what is now maintained lawn.
Shannon, you said there'd be some grading. That grading
Yes.
include material being brought in?
Yes, there would be some material being brought in. It's basically there's two new grade lines being shown here just to raise about a foot around the existing perimeter of the house. Just get that water away from the house, as is, pretty typical with a lot of the houses, the older houses in Beechwood. Water is an issue in and under the houses.
The swamp.
Because they were built in the wetland.
Shannon, will that divert the water underneath the existing portion of the house that's on piers?
It's more directing the water away from the edge of the house. There is no grading under the house.
Need to do a site visit.
So as the water comes off the house, rather than, puddling by the house and such, it will flow away from the house.
I personally feel that a one-to-one in this situation may not be adequate.
I agree.
So you should give some thinking to that.
Okay.
We're gonna want to come see this too.
Prior to your approval or during construction?
Oh, prior to
approval.
approval.
Okay.
Where does the roof water go to? The lawn?
Currently, there are gutters over this door,
Which
here by
door?
the driveway, and this door at the front of the house. Those
Well,
have
that's-
gutters, the rest, and then from the gutters, it splashes onto the ground, and the rest of it just sheet flows off the roof. Onto the
Under
ground.
Is there a new, John, just one second. Is there a new, what do you call it, a stoop or a way out on the side facing the new garden?
No,
Because it looks like there's something in there, in that stone.
right here. This
Yeah.
is there's a generator here, another, I think a pad here, and I'm not sure what this is, but there are no new egresses from the building.
Probably a heat pump.
Okay. John, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. Did I interrupt you?
We're permitting closer to the wetland,
Yeah, I want to see it.
which is not,
Yeah, it's a loss of BVW. Even though you're planting, it's still a loss of buffer really close to the BVW. So I definitely would like to see it.
Site visit. Let's just do a site visit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got a storm coming, so probably it'd be best to see it before the storm.
Again?
There's a storm coming this weekend.
Saturday,
So it'd
Friday
be best to
night.
get there as soon as we could.
You know, how much are we gonna be able to see even under the present conditions?
No, not a lot, probably. Shannon, are there any flags or anything out there now?
Yes, the wetland was flagged in the past couple months.
And the addition is marked, so we can see what it
It
is?
is not, but it can be.
Okay.
Can you do that?
Yes, let me know when you want to do a site visit. We'll be sure that's done.
Pick a day.
I don't know, site visits at this time of year just really stink.
Friday would be hard for me this week.
Any
Could do
day?
Thursday afternoon, late Thursday afternoon, like
We can't post it.
It's too close.
in that
Or
All right, so
It would have to be Friday
next Friday.
or next week.
I would really like to see it. If that's possible.
depending on what we get for storm next week. Pick a day.
Next Friday?
No.
Next Thursday afternoon?
Next week for me is
It's bad.
terrible.
And our next.
You can go twice,
8.
as long as it's staked out.
Yeah, we have our trial and show next week. I leave on Thursday and
You'll be busy.
I'm totally gone.
Yeah. All right, can you have it staked out this week?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yep.
I could do this Friday.
All right, some of us are gonna show up this Friday. And as long as there's, just mark what the stakes are for, if you could, or ribbon them.
Is there a specific time you were going to be there?
Got a time?
This Friday? Can you do this Friday?
It would be like 3:35, 3:40.
3:30?
Sure.
Shannon, if I want to see it next week, can I? Because I have a lot of questions about this. I really want to see it. Can I walk without you, or can you come back? I hate to do that, but I really would like to see it.
Lisa, if we're gonna come back, you know, you go, come up with your questions and then we'll address them when she comes back.
I just want to see it though.
When you know when you're going to be there, if you could let me know, and if Anthony or myself are there, or just to see, make sure the Martins aren't home, you know, or if they are, let them know that someone will be there.
Okay.
Well, some of us will be there this Friday at 3:30.
Okay. It'll be staked by then.
Keep in mind that we, under the town wetland bylaw, have the right to go on the property to look at it at any time that isn't outrageous.
Yes.
Okay, just saying.
Yes, I just thought if someone could meet you there.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
All right, we'll continue this.
Okay,
Make
thank
a
you.
motion. Make a motion to continue.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. I have a couple other things I'd like to discuss with you,
Oh,
if I may. One being.
What is he seeing on his screen?
Well, he just got out and turned off his tablet. He's coming back in.
So sometimes on mine, I'll see 3 screens and one of them, 3 boxes. Is he seeing that? And you press, I think it's, not white screen.
I'm coming back in again.
Okay, so what do you have on your screen, Bobby?
Who's talking?
Carla, somebody. She just stopped. So you stopped.
Gonna get muted.
all right. To sign, anything?
Yes.
Oh,
Can I talk to you about a couple other things?
Oh, yeah.
No.
No?
Do it.
You took up all your time, you're done.
Well, I waited till the end.
The extension of our highway.
Which is which?
Go, Shannon.
Okay, quickly, before I forget, on Friday, would those people who are available for that 3:30 site visit be available to go to 35 Nielsen Lane after that? To take a look at, we're gonna be submitting an RDA for some tree removal. The trees are flagged.
Like Patrick's house.
Wasn't Patrick?
35 Nielsen?
I know, but which?
You come,
Yeah.
come into Nielsen Lane is one of those weird streets. That seems like it ought to be in
Stockbridge
Lennox.
That's Wheatley Drive.
Oh,
Oh, it is.
So you
okay.
get
It's
to it
Old
off of
Stockbridge Road.
Stockbridge Road, yeah.
So, this too, I would really I'd like to see it too. If that's possible.
This is tree removal, Shannon?
Yes, yep,
What's the address again, Sharon?
35 Nielsen.
Oh, 35 what?
Nielsen. It's, if you go out Hawthorne Road and you get, or street, sorry, Hawthorne Street, and you get to the Old Stockbridge Road T, you take a right and it's just down a little ways on the right.
Overlooks Lily,
From what used to be Lennox School.
overlooks Lennox,
And it's a weird little thing that it's actually in Stockbridge when you'd think it was in Lennox.
So, Shannon, why are the trees coming down?
my understanding is that they're dangerous to the driveway and the existing house. We're going to be filing an RDA with you and then a notice of intent for some work on the house that's gonna be about a year out.
Okay, thank you.
There's a stream that goes through there, am I correct?
There is, this is the last house on the cul-de-sac on the left.
it overlooks Lily Pond.
The woods. And?
Okay, and Chris Newman is on now for Birch Lane. We have looked at the property. We have a order of conditions for the construction of a house and construction of a garage. We have been to the property, and I have sent you a letter on the 21st, just outlining what has transpired on the property and want to share that with you. So, as I said, we had an order of conditions which allowed for the reconstruction of the house on piers and a 12 by 18 garage on a concrete slab. Those were both in the buffer zone. The house was built, as we saw, and then a building permit was applied for a 14 by 18 shed with a second floor loft. And that building permit was issued and it was signed off by the Conservation Commission. I attached those documents saying approved June 28th, 2021 by Conservation Commission. With that approval, the contractor went forward and built the garage shed with a loft.
Oh, this is the one.
Larger than it was on the plan.
So did you say, when that was presented, did you say this is larger? I mean, I don't have a memory of that happening, or did the plans just get signed without that information?
For the building permit?
No, that the Conservation Commission signed.
The Conservation Commission approval was for the 12 by 18 garage.
Right, okay.
The commission signed off on the building permit for the 14 by 18 garage or shed with a loft, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, so my question is, was that verbally said, that it was bigger?
It was written in the application.
It was written in the application.
In the building permit application, yes.
This is a little bit of minutia here.
Was it written in that it was different?
or pointed out that it was different. I mean, I don't know that went back and looked to make sure that it was exactly the same, I think.
Yeah, it was,
The building permit should have been based on what was presented to the Conservation Commission and approved. So if it was not the same, then it wasn't what we approved originally.
Right, but what we're saying is a commission member signed off on the building permit
in the building
with the
permit.
dimensions
I'm sorry.
given and the drawings for the new shed with a loft. So the builder went forward.
So what are you after here now?
We want to make that clear to you. And with this, and that this work has been done, there's no more work proposed on the house. We don't feel we need the extension anymore because the work was completed prior to the expiration date for the order of conditions. We originally started this conversation because we asked for an extension to the order of conditions, but we don't need that anymore because the work was completed before the order of conditions expired. There were some outstanding issues with the house that may have required some excavation, so we wanted to keep that open, but the structural engineers and builders have determined that no excavation needs to be done. We are not asking for a certificate of compliance at this point because I know you want monitoring of the shrubs that were planted. They have been in for 1 year and we'll wait through this winter and then we'll ask for the certificate of compliance.
I guess I would ask if there's a change from something that's been approved, that be said verbally to the commission. And I don't know who signed that approval, but if the commission approved one thing and then you did another thing, it would have, I think, been good to come back to the commission and let the commission know that there was a square footage change in what was being built. That would have been, good communication.
Was the building inspector aware of the change before it happened? Or after it happened?
The building inspector was aware of what was presented to him for the building permit, and the Conservation Commission signed off on it as an approval for the building permit.
That wasn't the question.
The question was,
Go ahead, Ron.
was the building inspector aware that there was a change before it happened or after it happened?
What did the document say that the building inspector has? What are the measurements that the building inspector stamped his name on it?
14 by 18.
And what is the dimensions of the building?
14 by 18.
All right.
schematics were attached as well, showing it built on piers.
So how did it get changed from what was approved here to the 14 by 18? I guess that's the part I don't
It's
understand.
not supposed to change from what we approved without our approval. It's in the order of conditions that if there's a change within to the project, that it's supposed to be brought to the commission's attention in writing before that change takes place, whether we signed off on the building permit or not. It still is not what we approved in the order of conditions.
Understood. The builder applied for the building permit. That's what he received. That's what he built.
So it's still in effect in violation of the order of conditions.
The originals, yes.
If you approve a plan that's submitted in writing,
It shouldn't have been submitted without letting us know that there was a variation from the order of conditions that were issued.
It's not our position to go out there and measure buildings.
but no one was hiding anything. Like, it was clearly said this is going to be the size. The schematics were attached. It was described on how it was going to be built. on piers instead of the slab, so less disruption to the soil ultimately. And our understanding was that was the process, that if the commission had any issue with that change, it would have said so at that time. So when we got the approval, we thought all was well.
What did the document that you got the approval on say the size of the building was going to be?
14 by 18, that's.
No, the document from the Conservation Commission.
Document that you got from us?
The order of conditions that you issued 3 years ago said 12 by 18. The building permit.
There you go.
That's it, Shannon, end of story right there.
Yeah, so
That's our point. Our point is that that's what we signed off on, and that's not what was built.
And they weren't matched up. It's not we didn't cause that.
If my builder gets something that says approved by Conservation Commission, if we can't rely on that, what can we rely on? How are we supposed to know?
Well, you have an order of conditions that has the size. The order of conditions states that if there's a change from what is presented to us in the order of conditions to what is actually being built, that you need to come back to the Conservation Commission and ask for it. I'm sure would have been fine with it, but we did not go out and measure the size of the shed from what we had approved originally to what was ultimately built.
I apologize if there's miscommunication or misunderstanding, but the advice I was getting was that the process to request that change was to put in for a permit that explains and attaches what you propose to build.
But that doesn't obviate the order of conditions.
Got it 3 years ago.
Just saying. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's a little deal. It's a little tiny deal, but nevertheless, it's a deal.
If this happened 3 years ago, when did this happen?
What are we looking for?
Building.
Sounds like it was.
You're looking for people to not do
Right.
shit like that.
So the timeline is you came to the Conservation Commission 3 years ago, but then the building inspector about a year ago gave this new one. So that didn't get matched up, which probably falls on the building inspector. But it should have followed the oldest, which would have been ours, the Conservation Commission's dimensions. Am I correct? Am I thinking?
Well, as far as we're concerned, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, this is the shed that was built, is the 14 by 18. It was built on piers with stone underneath rather than a concrete slab. So there still is some infiltration there, less disruption to the groundwater table. And we have an expired order of conditions with the request for the extension that still has not completely been resolved. I guess it hasn't been voted on. What can we do here? I mean, that's what was built with the building permit.
And Shannon, one other thing I just point out is that the structure is about as far away from the wetlands as the zoning allows. It's really right at the 50-foot line. So it's on the far side of the property from any wetlands.
Right. And there was no new trees or anything taken down to build this additional 2 feet wide shed.
But there was the damaged tree on the right side of the building that never has been addressed, I believe.
The roots have been cleaned up and we'll keep an eye on the tree, but it's doing okay right now. I can't say what's going to happen to it in 5 years. You know, that's not my expertise.
So I guess I would just say going forward, Shannon, if you're aware of a change from something that's been approved, to come to us and let us know. I think that's what's.
Well, the onus is ultimately on the homeowner.
Another order of conditions, and if something gets changed, we need to know about it.
And that whole area is wetland. I mean, everything down there is practically wetland.
Yes.
So being 50 feet from the wetland is something that today we would not permit. Because these structures that are getting bigger and bigger and creating more heat and more water and more salt and more everything down there are eventually going to affect the lake. There's no question down the line that there's going to be more and more salt in the lake, and it'll be like some of the other lakes in the area, and they won't turn over anymore. And we'll see more and more degradation of the whole area. So, you know, the fact that it's 50 feet from the wetland is just barely under our current thinking. Just saying. And when you get your order of conditions, and it's conditioned that it's a certain size, that you are required to come back if that changes, whether you get a building permit or not.
Brian, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So, when you say there's a loft, is that a storage loft?
It is. I mean, with the house being built on piers, as you can imagine, there's really no storage in the
It's
home.
not a loft apartment. There's no bathroom or kitchen in it.
No.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Nothing like that.
All right, what are we doing?
You know, what are we
It's
gonna?
already been built.
We've already said what we think. It's already built.
I'm with you.
It's annoying, I have to say, but it's done.
The deal is done.
Yeah, I think that, you know, we often get as-built that are different.
It would have been no big deal if they'd come in and said.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
So Shannon, what are you asking for? You're asking to have no extension?
We're asking to withdraw the extension request.
And straighten out the record on the size.
Yes.
Well, we got that now to the building inspector. All right.
I mean, this has been a long conversation in town in general, is when plans go from one department to another department and to another department. And there's no real way to track when it changes at this point. And I don't know if there ever will be a way of tracking it when it changes. But what comes to us and what goes to the building inspector, what goes to the zoning board, all of those things are supposed to have the same plans with the same specifications. And in this case, that didn't happen.
Okay, so anybody else? The extension, make a motion to
It's withdrawn.
withdraw the extension.
It doesn't need a motion, they
No
just
motion?
withdraw it.
Okay.
All right, it's withdrawn. You're gonna need eventually, close out the whole thing.
They'll have to apply for a certificate of compliance.
Well, the plantings are still,
Yeah, the plantings are, come back in the spring if the deer haven't eaten everything, and we'll talk about a certificate of compliance.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, and that will reflect the change.
thank you.
And keep in mind that in the order of conditions, in addition to saying that you have to come in and ask about if there's a change to the plans, you're also required to apply for the certificate of compliance upon completion of the project.
We can't wait 3 years.
Or 25 years.
Yeah, we've had some that are over 20 years. We should charge for those.
People need to read.
Thank you.
Their order of conditions.
Thank you, Shannon.
Right, but we do want to wait for the survival of the plants to be confirmed.
Please,
Okay, thank you very much for your time this evening.
have a good
Thanks,
evening.
Shannon.
Bye-bye.
Other business.
I got something when you're ready.
Patrick.
Who's that, Patrick?
Patrick.
Do it now, Patrick.
So let's see. Two things. One, just wanted to remind everyone, I'm sure Sally doesn't need a reminder, that tomorrow is the initial meeting of community preservation and proposals are due February 11th. And so if there are any conservation owned properties for the open space bucket, that's a good thing. And the second thing is, I had a conversation today with Steve Knopp about the beach. And I was down there last week and noticed that the entire north side, next adjacent to the sand is all Phragmites now. And one project we possibly talked about was clearing out the invasives, doing a planting plan that was acceptable to you guys, and using the opening section of the bylaw in terms of beachfront access to make some kind of a path for the kayaks to get down there. And I was wondering if that was something that you guys would support.
Gonna need to see some plans for this, Patrick.
He has plans that MCA or MBA or someone did. I'm just trying to kind of bring the various groups together to we have these projects that have kind of been talked about for years and, trying to just move it into access. But I would be happy to try to set up a meeting between Mike Canales, you guys, me, and maybe the Parks and Rec folks down at the beach sometime before the 11th to hopefully significantly before to look at the plans so that we can get a basic estimate of what the work would entail.
So, and I would want to know how he's going to get rid of the Phragmites and what's going to be there.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, I think that's, it's a town property. I think that you guys can really dictate what you want down there. There's a record amount of money in CPC this year. So it's a good year to, put some of the open space money into, or recreation bucket, whatever, into a project like this and remove the invasives from there. I just feel like it's kind of, a no man's land, and the Phragmites are really taking it over. Might as well kind of, fix it. Let's make a good example for all the private landowners.
Patrick, but we're not gonna come up with a Phragmite removal plan. We'll approve or disapprove whatever someone comes up with, but it's not gonna be on our shoulders how to get rid of those.
No, I know. I would imagine it would be an engineering firm we'd need to hire. I mean, I've sat through enough of these meetings to kind of, I just don't want to overstep. I mean, is this a project that makes sense to you guys is my first question.
So I guess my question would be, can we get something together before the 11th? I don't know. I mean, it would require a notice of intent to be approved.
Okay.
Before you can apply for funding, correct?
Well, I mean, I think that I think that the biggest thing is just to get the basic budget in place, and then we could take the spring through town meeting to figure out all of the details. But I mean, I think that getting an engineer to sort of figure out a budget for this kind of a project, I mean, Sally, you tell me. Do you think that would be acceptable?
Yeah, I think you could do an up to.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, if you get an engineer to say, we think it will cost whatever, I think we can say, I mean, I'm only one person, I'm not the whole commission, but we have done up to before. So if you said it was going to cost $25,000 roughly, we could say that we would propose to town meeting up to $25,000 for this.
And if it turned out to be short, we could always do a warrant item for the difference. So, I think that's a really good plan. So I'll give you a call when I have this set up, and I'll talk to Michael tomorrow and see if we can kind of pull this together. I know it's sort of last minute, but I was just talking with them about what their priorities were. So Thank you. I really appreciate it.
It's gonna have to go out to bid probably, won't it, Patrick?
I don't know about I think that getting an engineering cost estimate, I don't know. I think under 10,000, it doesn't. That's my understanding, but I'm not the procurement officer for the town. So, but yeah, I'm just, whatever we have to do, we'll obviously follow the law,
All right.
Under 5,000.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, let's finish up here. Under Tom Ingersoll.
Nope.
That's,
And we haven't heard anything since the initial contact, so I'm not really sure what's going on with
let's
that.
skip the performance bylaws, tree protection bylaw,
Why are we skipping performance?
Hold
go
on.
back to it.
Come back to it, okay.
Are we gonna come back to performance standard?
Yes.
Yes,
Tree protection, I keep saying we can take it off. I'd like it
okay, we'll
incorporated
take it
either into
off.
performance standards or orders of condition. I don't think we need it separate.
With the tree protection thing, I don't know if anybody's been to one of those things where you climb around up in the trees, go from cable to cable and zip lines and stuff like that.
I have not.
Well, they have a way of protecting the tree from when they wrap the cable around the tree in order to cause the thing to go from one tree to another. And I think it was developed in Europe, and it's kind of interesting. It's a bunch of, let's just use 2x4s because it's easy to think of, but they're in a vertical position going around the tree, and then it's wrapped to hold it in place. And the only reason I bring that up, being that it's tree protection, is that, back in 1996, we had our property logged off. And as careful as Ed Dunham wanted everybody to be, and as careful as the logger wanted to be, there were trees that were skinned up by them dragging trees down and out. And those trees since have actually passed away as a result of getting skinned up. So my only thought here with the tree protection thing is if we're dealing with the logging application, that maybe we would recommend to them that they do something to protect the trees that are along the logging road to get to the, what do they call it, the landing where they put all the logs.
Have we had any logging?
Yeah, we just had a few, yeah, we're doing our property.
That's standard procedure. I got details after that,
So we have a document here that I have had saved in this little folder of interesting stuff called Preserving Trees on a Development Site, which at the time that I read it, which was from 2017, but the time that I read it, I thought it was really good and really interesting. And it talks about the fencing to put around the trees. And I think maybe this is something that we can incorporate into the performance standards of what we expect from people when they're building, that they can't just go crashing and banging around it.
Sally, can I say something? The fencing is usually to keep them 10 feet away or 20 feet away from the tree. What John was saying is applied to the tree.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's lots of good town tree laws in the state of Massachusetts. But I guess I would suggest, now that we have a Agriculture and Forestry Commission, that we invite them here. I'm on that commission, and invite the other members here to talk to the Conservation Commission about maybe doing working on it jointly. Because it keeps coming up at the Agriculture and Forestry Commission, but we haven't done it yet. And I think there's interest here, so maybe it's something we can
I think that's an excellent idea.
do together.
So it can get into the,
Say it again?
so it can get into the performance standards.
Yeah, or, yes, we can get into the performance standards or stand on its own, whatever we decide.
I mean, this talks about most damage to trees occurs underground in the form of compaction or root loss.
If you,
so the fencing, keeping them, I mean, at least in construction, keeping them farther away from the tree is.
across from the ball field on Stockbridge Street in Great Barrington, where they're working on the new hotel. There was a beautiful oak tree there, and when I was there, we mandated protection for that oak tree. And if you drive by, there's a beautiful grapevine fence all around the oak tree, maybe 15 or 20 feet out, so that nothing gets even close to it. It's a really nice innovation they did. I mean,
I guess what I was talking more about is not under the house, under a construction site as much as a logging operation.
So
I
again,
mean, just by virtue of what I saw, I mean, there are only 2 or 3 trees that died as a result of this, but nevertheless, you know, they were oaks, they were post-adolescent age, and now they're dead.
Well, the issue with that would be, I mean, first of all, when a logging permit comes in, the permit in and of itself assumes that the tenets of the Wetlands Protection Act have been adhered to.
Right.
The forester comes out, he looks at all the trees, he decides whether this is good or bad or not good, and DEP people come out and they look at the plan and they blah, blah, blah. So the question is then, if you are going to, and I'm not saying I think it's a bad idea, but if you are going to hold the forester to not gouging trees that will ultimately die.
I'm just saying that's a myth.
Who's going to go out and look at the trees?
I think they come in and check.
What?
Whoever gave the permits come back, they check, make sure
When we logged up,
weren't taken
when we
down.
logged our property up in 1996, we had New England Woodland Management come up and mark the trees that needed to come down or could come down. And, but that was pretty much the extent of his.
They didn't come back at all?
What?
They did not come back?
Yes, at the end.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at the time, there was no big deal with trees that were skinned up.
But if-
So it seemed.
if we're talking about it for this commission and we do a site visit after whatever the work is done, we'll see it.
I think it's kind of a different thing, whether it's a forestry project where they're taking down lots.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or if it's, I mean, I think it's really important on a new construction project.
Absolutely.
Because we've seen down on the lake what they can do to the trees, and the question is, did they do that because they knew damn well the tree would die, and then they could, oh gosh, it's dead, now we can take it down and we can see the lake, or whatever. But I mean, that's why I think it would be a really good thing to have some real teeth in our performance standards as to what we expect from the contractors in terms of protection of the trees.
I think this, I don't know as we could get into logging. I think we can get into construction more so. You know, how many acres do you have logged, John?
Well,
Honestly, we're not gonna go trot around 12 acres if they skimmed up trees.
no,
But if they're building a house up there
But it,
on your 12 acres, then we have cause to go up.
this eventually falls on the forester, Ed Dunham, who came up and, you know, marked the trees and did everything and has to go back to see if everything's hunky-dory. When he goes back to see if everything's hunky-dory, isn't it him that points the finger at the logger and says, you screwed up on this tree over here?
Should be.
I wonder if there's a slush fund, if you will, I don't know what else to call it, about when you're doing logging like that, like you expect
A bond?
a certain, no, just a certain amount of loss, you know, just sort of,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But, you know, logging is a tough thing to do and to not go crashing into trees and stuff.
Yeah, even, when the tree falls.
If you expect a certain amount of damage when you,
Well, you know, there is a new committee or commission or whatever in town, which is a forestry commission. Maybe this is their bailiwick.
Well, that's what I said. Yeah.
I think it would be really interesting to get together and talk to them, I think.
We can either invite you to our meeting or you can come, right, they can come here.
It
would be a good conversation.
Like I said, I think it's really important that we have some sort of language in our performance standards that requires people to take care of the trees on the site when they're during construction.
So would you like an invitation to the Forestry Commission, or would you like to invite the Forestry Commission here? Or just have to call it a joint meeting?
Are we to the point where we could do a tree protection bylaw? Or what we want to put into our performance standards about tree protection?
During construction, that's it.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
And then invite them,
And then invite them, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I'm having a little difficulty here because the only constructions that we're dealing with, and rightfully so, are those that are near resource areas. So that kind of eliminates everything else that's outside the resource area, which is why I think that, you know, the forestry guy would be the guy to go to and not us.
yeah, I agree with you.
And there's
Plus, it
also
doesn't
the
hurt to
tree
talk to them.
warden. There's also the tree warden.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we need to work on something that will apply to what we oversee.
Yeah.
but do you think it needs to be separate?
Well, I think the same thing I think with LPOD. I think it needs to be not contradictory. So I think it would be really good to talk to the forestry people so we can see what they think. And, you know, what are their concerns? And let's make sure that we're all concerned about the same thing.
See, my concern is that, you know, bombing around up on Rattlesnake on property that does not belong to me. You know, there was a recent logging operation and I noticed that there were trees that were marked and taken down. And when they don't mark a tree, it's because it's a seed tree. I mean, it's gonna rain acorns down and grow other trees. And some of those trees have been damaged in that property and they are not going to survive, which is totally defeats the purpose of not cutting them down when the logging operation was going on. So, I mean, you know, that's where I'm going with this, even though I'm not on the forestry.
But you can come to the Forestry Commission and talk about that.
I can do that.
Yeah, you can.
I can even show them examples.
You could do that. That would be
They hold on tight while I'm bombing around on an ATV.
It's a good point.
Right.
So what do we want to do? Do you want a joint meeting? Do you want to put it in their hands?
Who was on that commission?
I'm on it.
Oh,
Matt Boudreau is the chair and Eric.
why don't you discuss it with them at your
What's
next
I'm
meeting?
saying, we keep talking, it keeps coming up, not officially, but it keeps coming up, but we haven't gone anywhere with it yet.
All right.
And I don't know if we will. So I'm saying if there's
See if we can get a-
interest from here, it might be good to have everybody talk together, or I can just bring it, I can also go back to them and say the Conservation Commission is interested in.
Well, I think we would certainly welcome a joint meeting, whether it would be at our meeting or their meeting,
Or
but,
they want to do Zoom.
yeah.
We could do it Zoom, okay. You want me to send you maps?
Set time aside.
We have to,
No, put
we'd
it
have
on
to
the
post
agenda.
it, we'd have to post it if it's outside of our meeting, but
Well,
But-
we can,
If we, so tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it.
well, do you think they want to come to one of our meetings?
I think,
run it by them,
run it by them.
see what
Okay.
you get
I
for
run it by Matt.
consensus. And then we'll set it up.
Okay,
Right?
I will do that.
Berkshire Theater drainage, we've heard nothing from them. I don't know if we will, I'll go
Probably
step
not.
on toes again. 20 Mackinac Shores, nothing.
Anybody been by?
It's under construction.
Have they backfilled the foundation or anything yet?
I haven't been down there this week,
Or have I?
probably by now.
Would be good to backfill the foundation before the frost gets in. But I'm not building it. Review 19 Lakeview Drive. Let's skip that.
We're
one.
still waiting for
Nothing.
aren't we waiting for town council on that? I think we're waiting on town council.
All right, performance standards.
Well, Lisa and I have both,
Cuts and pastes like this. This is my kind of work.
Lisa and I have both written something up, and I think that it's gonna need to be melded together somehow. But I will read what I wrote, and then maybe Lisa will read what she's written, and just to give an idea, but, you know, our earlier garage issue might have been fallen under this thing here. But this is what Lisa's written. 2.1, complete project sequence of work. Applicant shall provide a complete sequence of work on any project that involves demolition, rebuild, renovation of a project in any area where the Conservation Commission has jurisdiction. Said sequence of work will be signed by the applicant's representative and the general contractor to be involved in the project. Date of commencement of work. If unavailable, applicant will return to the Conservation Commission with the general contractor to inform the Conservation Commission of the real date of the commencement of work. At that time, applicant's representative will inform the Conservation Commission of any changes to the original plan put before us. If those changes are approved pending a site visit, the general contractor will be required to sign off on said changes as well as the applicant's representative. Members of the Conservation Commission will be free to, at any time during the project, visit the site to inspect the progress and the compliance to the final plan submitted by the applicant's representative. If during the project's construction, no variations from the approved plans are discovered, and when the project is completed pending a site visit, a certificate of compliance will be approved, signed by the Conservation Commission, and submitted to the applicant and the Stockbridge building inspector and other appropriate parties.
There are a couple things in there.
Well, this is like just to get
I know.
get things in
I like
motion.
it. Yeah, I like it.
There are a couple things like, that the number 3 is redundant because it's in the wetlands bylaw already that we can go on the property whenever we want to.
I agree, and I knew that when I wrote it.
Okay.
The reason I wrote it was because if the homeowner is going to be getting this, if the engineer is going to be getting this, and if the contractor is going to be getting this, you know, it is going to be just one more thing that says, oh, the con can show up whenever they want.
And we just had to remind an applicant of Shannon
Right.
of this right now, so I like it in there, actually.
Okay, but let's use the language that's in the
No, it's fine.
bylaw.
It's fine. Any modifications to this,
We can reiterate, but use the same language.
the intent of this is to wake people up to the garage factor that we just dealt with. You know, you come in here and you put down a 12 by 14 plan in front of us, and we go out, we look, we say, fine, hunky dory, we sign off on it, and then all of a sudden it's a 14 by 18 or whatever it is. That's not acceptable. And what I'm trying to do here is put language together that's going to prevent that. That's it.
No, that's-
Any way we can massage this is great with me.
It's fine. I think that we should use the language that's in the wetland bylaw.
Yeah,
And reiterate it.
I will agree with that.
And there was,
Oh, you gave me one, but I lost it.
Did you get a copy of this?
I lost it. Give me one more.
I wonder how practical it's going to be for us to require getting the general contractor in the meeting.
That is the biggest glitch that we face. I mean, we have Zoom, Sally.
I know.
I'm sorry if a general contractor's got to put down his beer from a football game and come to our meeting and say, you know,
So what if, I mean, in what I wrote, I said the general contractor had to sign the order. That more,
I don't know.
I mean, that
I mean, it would be great to get the general contractors in here because they don't know necessarily what's going on. It would be wonderful to have a relationship with them, so that they understand where we're coming from. And,
have you been to the Reinhold, what used to be a Reinhold property? They came before us, they put a plan before us, I don't know, 2.5 years ago.
there are so many.
Yeah, I know, but this particular one is like, I go and look at it, and I mean, I don't dare say anything to the guys that are out there banging nails, but I have no memory of anything being built there that was put before us, like what is there now.
Which one?
It's down in the Beechwood Swamp, next to the lake, in the outlet.
Beechwood Swamp is such a friggin' nightmare, no matter
I know, we can call it a nightmare all we want, but the fact is that project was put before us like 3 years ago, and it was started maybe 8 months ago. And it doesn't have any semblance in my memory to what it looked like.
So we have the plans in the office.
So look.
We can go take a look at it. And if it's more than 3 years, then they're not supposed to be working on it at all because their permission has expired.
It'll expire.
Well, I mean, see, things like that, the contractor doesn't know. The contractors, especially nowadays when they have to wait months and months and months to get windows for a building, you know, there's all sorts of variables out there that we have to take into consideration.
Ultimately, it all is on the homeowner.
I understand
I
that.
don't think you're gonna get I mean, to come to a meeting and wait 2 hours before you get heard, and they have to pay the contractor to do that. I think we can ask for the contractor to sign. I don't think we can ask for the contractor, to demand that the contractor come to a meeting.
I agree.
I think that's gonna happen.
And a lot of times when we get the application, they don't know who the contractor is.
Correct. And that's why I put whatever in there.
But I do think we can get the contractor's signature. I think that would.
How about if before construction begins, the contractor has some sort of formal notification that he's read the.
Sign it, that's what I'm saying.
Right, so
Have them
that's,
sign it.
but
You know what? I'm not sure about the signing. I think that a letter from the contractor stating that he has reviewed the plans as submitted and approved, and he understands he understands the constraints that are put upon him to maintain the trees or
Conditions,
the conditions that are required or.
right, but here's what I think, and that is, I think that, okay, say a year ago, a project came before us, and we went to the site visit, and we looked at it, and we looked at the plans, and everything was hunky-dory. We came back here, we signed off on it, and, you know, the contractor, the applicant, nobody knew when the work was gonna begin. Nobody knows when the work's gonna begin. What we wanna know is when the work's gonna begin. So we can say, okay, it's time maybe to go take a look. You know, I just want them to be on notice that this is going to happen. Because right now, it's not happening. And that is why we end up with things like the garage that's one size that wasn't put before us.
So number 2 on what I wrote has the applicant will contact the commission to do a pre-construction site visit to inspect and approve erosion control.
Right.
You add that in, would that help?
that puts us there.
It's another site visit.
I don't care.
Okay, I'm just saying.
I think it would eliminate some of the problems that.
I would be in favor of having the contractor submit a letter prior to the commencement of work, stating that he has reviewed the plans that were approved by the Conservation Commission. I don't think he needs to,
Can I make a caveat to that?
yeah,
That he submits that letter within 30 days of commencing work?
whatever.
So would it be better if we had an actual form
Yeah, probably.
that then he could, I've reviewed it, I blah, 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 and sign it, a form that we
Yeah.
give him, rather than asking
Yeah.
him to write a letter, because that's not going
Right.
to happen.
Because it's easier for them to fill in blanks.
Yeah,
Right.
just sign it, okay.
Would it be reasonable for us to keep some kind of spreadsheet of ongoing things so we had a visual of what was out there and sort of move? No. I know it's a lot, but I'm just wondering if it's some kind of idea, like some
Building
kind of
inspector does
list.
that.
They do?
They should.
Okay.
Can we get it?
Sure. Once you
That would
know.
help, yeah, that would help. If it already exists. Sally doesn't have to do it.
Yeah, and I like
Good idea.
that form idea.
Because Ned goes on site visits to those things all the time. You actually know what the progress is too. Well, you should.
Well, maybe
I'm
that's,
sure he's been on a site visit down to see that thing in Beechwood, but I'm not sure he has any knowledge of what it was that they put.
There were a few years ago, Ned was the one who was jumping up and down that there were plans that were going around to various boards that were not matching up.
Right.
And we talked back and forth and around about how we were going to solve this problem. And, the question is, who keeps track of it? If it's going from the zoning board to the building inspector, the Conservation Commission, to the whoever else has to see it? Who ultimately is where the buck stops?
I'm sure, personally, I think, sorry, Ned, I think it's the building inspector.
Somehow I bet that the building inspector will not agree with you on that.
Huh?
He's the enforcement.
He's the enforcement.
Not for us.
Let's get back to performance standards.
we're our own enforcement, aren't we? Like, we have to enforce
Police.
our own thing?
Police.
Yeah.
Are there other, I'm happy to type this if you want. I really-
Do whatever you want with
really
it.
appreciate
I
you
banged it out,
putting it together.
yesterday, and I was thinking that, I just wanted to make the point that
Yep.
vigilance has got to be,
But are
brought
there-
to the table.
Are there other things people want to change? I can rewrite it with our suggestions and bring it back, but anything else? Gave us a running start here. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that what it's ultimately going to come down to is that we're going to have to really get our act together.
Just one more thing.
It's a little scary.
One more thing, because we also talked about, now in terms of performance standards, we talked about adding fences.
Added what?
Fences,
Oh.
something in there.
Oh, yeah,
So I did just a one line,
I saw that was good.
if we can agree and put that in too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's great. I like that. That's good.
We'll add that in.
Well, maybe what we need to do is have a list or a timeline or something where it's a part of our meeting that we set the site visit to go look at these things.
What do you mean? Go and look at what things?
I don't know, whatever project we think we want to go look at.
Goes back to your
My sheet.
spreadsheet.
Sorry. We can do it in Google Doc.
Yes. Things
I
that
have a spreadsheet on jurisdictionals.
Calendar,
Huh?
separate
Or a
calendar.
calendar.
Separate calendar. Pink, orange, blue. You figure out what color needs to
Well, it can
be
be a
identified to
paper
which.
calendar, and just plot in pencil, like,
Well, calendars online are a little bit easier to deal with.
If we had a paper calendar and when somebody came in and said, we're gonna do whatever we're gonna do, and we said, okay, we want to go back and look at it at whatever, whenever thought we wanted to go back and look at it, if they gave us a specific time, then we could write that in. I could manage to put that into a calendar.
right,
If I have to keep another spreadsheet,
right, it was just,
Oh, that would work.
but some way to organize. It doesn't have to be a spreadsheet, but an organizational tool, some kind of tool.
I mean, they send me 50,000 calendars. I get one from the World Wildlife Fund, I get one from,
I'd give
To
them
the
one right
21st
there.
century.
yeah, my little one. The little one is great,
I like the little one.
yeah. Maybe I can find an extra one hanging around somewhere that we could have at a meeting and just write in it that this is when we want to go look at this. And then we could look at the calendar. We could say, okay, we said we wanted to go look at this project on this date. And we could set the actual date
That would work.
And it'll jog our memory.
and do the,
Take a look down.
I just want to make sure that when we get ourselves into these things, that it's something that we can actually do. That it just doesn't sort of fall by the wayside, that it's practical and not making us nuts.
All right, this brings up another question that I have out of total ignorance. And I am ignorant as to what it is a conservation agent does.
Conservation agent is usually the one who goes around and does the site visits.
So
With the commission.
and obviously,
But they do follow-up, generally
We do a
speaking.
lot of follow-up and they are available for people to just come, like, sometimes people come here with a lot of questions
right,
that an agent answers. They can call up the agent on the phone. They're like in an office and have, 9 to 5 or whatever it is. So people can come and say, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I want to do. And the agent can advise them so they don't have to come to the Conservation Commission.
Well, they do call me.
They do. but
So-
An agent would,
But we could put more hours in a week.
so
Where
wait,
have a set hour, 2 hours in the afternoon where you can
Right.
get them.
so why, I mean, with the minuscule little amount of money that we've got in the bank, we can't afford to bring a conservation agent into the scene here?
You can't find one.
Shep Evans was a conservation,
Doesn't want to come here.
why not? People throw darts.
Call Shep and ask him, but he wasn't interested.
I think,
Well, he's doing Richmond, he's doing Great Barrington.
Fair amount of water under the bridge on that one.
No pun intended, right?
Or in the backyard.
but have they advertised?
Probably.
In the MAC newsletter, every month, they have lists of towns all over Massachusetts looking for agents. I mean, have they advertised?
I don't know that, but Michael Canales goes to meetings of other,
Yeah.
and he's put it out there. Does anyone have an agent that would be interested in sharing time with the town of Stockbridge?
But they may have to hire.
And no one has replied.
It's a tough job. It
It is a tough
a
job.
nuisance and a bother, and you get people who are annoyed at you.
And you don't want somebody that's in Adams or someplace like that, because they know, you're not, they don't want to come way down here. So you got a little radius of Stockbridge of, let's say, 7 towns or 8 towns. And
So does West Stockbridge have an agent?
I don't know. I know that they asked me to be the agent for Otis at one point. And I went down and I looked at the office and I drove around Otis for a while and I said, no. I mean,
Otis is big.
it's big
a lot of woods.
and there's a lot of really rural stuff. And I thought, do I really want to walk up on somebody's property and say, hey, I don't think what you're doing is cool. I don't like doing it in Stockbridge.
Right.
I mean,
Well, I think that, we might want to look harder in that
And,
respect.
I mean,
I keep asking him. I have to ask at least every 2 weeks. I've
have
asked
you
him.
asked Shep if he knows of anybody?
Yeah, we can, but
You don't mind asking?
yeah,
I mean,
it won't hurt to keep bothering him. Maybe you'll get tired of listening to somebody.
okay. We good?
Make a motion?
I make a motion.
I'll second it.
I'll third it.
Thank you.